So, what's for dessert tonight? I asked at the family dinner table. My 24th birthday. My mother looked up from her plate, genuinely confused. Dessert? It's just Tuesday, Grace. Why would we have dessert? I felt my stomach tighten. Because it's my birthday. My father laughed, that dismissive chuckle I'd heard 1,000 times. Oh, right, your birthday. We completely forgot again. You know how it gets. 2 weeks earlier, they'd thrown my brother a $3,000 surprise party with a DJ, catered food, and 50 guests. But my birthday was just another Tuesday. My name is Grace. I'm 24, a social worker, and the middle child who's been systematically erased my entire life. For 2 decades, I've watched my brother receive elaborate celebrations while I got last-minute grocery store cupcakes or nothing at all. My family trained me to expect nothing by giving me nothing, then praised me for being low maintenance and mature. I wasn't demanding or high maintenance, but I had something they never expected: a limit. The pattern was so consistent it became predictable. 2 weeks before my 24th, my brother turned 26. Mom spent 3 weeks planning his party: a pavilion rental, custom decorations, a 3-tier cake that cost more than my monthly groceries. She showed me photos afterward, beaming. "Isn't this amazing? Look how happy he is." I smiled and nodded, already dreading my own approaching day. I dropped hints. "My birthday's coming up next week. Maybe we could do something special this year?" Each hint evaporated into vague responses. "We'll see. Maybe something simple. We're busy right now." The night before my birthday, I overheard my mother on the phone with my aunt. Grace isn't really a birthday person anyway. She's more practical, not like some people who need all the attention. They had constructed a narrative where my neglect was actually my preference. The morning of my birthday arrived with complete silence. No happy birthday at breakfast, no acknowledgement at dinner. At 8 p.m., my mother came home with a single grocery store cupcake, setting it on the counter like an afterthought, just in case you wanted something sweet. One cupcake, while my brother had received a custom cake, 50 guests, and professional photos 2 weeks earlier. But the public humiliation came at our next family gathering. Somehow, birthdays came up in conversation. "Grace doesn't really do birthdays," my mother announced to the room full of relatives. "She's too mature for all that fuss. Not everyone needs to be the center of attention." I sat there, invisible, while my mother explained to everyone why I didn't deserve celebration, framing it as my choice, my preference, my personality. 3 months later, my mother called with a request. "Grace, we need your help planning your brother's graduation party. You're so organized, and we want this one to be really special." I took a breath. "What about my birthday next month?" "Oh, honey, we can't do something big every few months. Maybe we can take you out to dinner or something simple." Simple, while asking me to plan his elaborate celebration. That night, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "At least Grace is easy," my father said. "We never have to worry about disappointing her because she doesn't expect anything." They had trained me not to expect anything by never giving me anything. But what they didn't know was that I'd been planning my own celebration for months. Every paycheck I saved. Every lunch break I made calls to event coordinators and venues. Those mysterious phone calls they assumed were work, I was confirming RSVPs from friends, coworkers, and distant relatives. I'd been documenting years of neglect through photos and journal entries, building a timeline of their favoritism. My college friend, Sarah, became my secret planning ally. We organized every detail of what would become the birthday party of my dreams. Meanwhile, my family confidently planned a vacation during my 25th birthday week. They didn't ask if I wanted to come. They didn't check my schedule. They just assumed I'd be fine postponing my birthday indefinitely. "We can celebrate when we get back," my mother said casually. "It's not like you'll mind waiting." I overheard another conversation that week. "Grace never complains about birthdays, so we don't need to worry about her feelings getting hurt." Never complains because I'd learned that complaining got me nothing but lectures about being grateful. The family group chat I wasn't part of buzzed with discussions about addressing my unrealistic expectations when we returned. Unrealistic expectations like wanting to be remembered on the day I was born. That's when I sent out invitations to my own elaborate 25th birthday party, scheduled for the day they returned from vacation. Saturday afternoon, my family walked into their house to find cars lining the street and music coming from the rented venue next door. 75 people were celebrating my birthday in the banquet hall I'd booked. Catered food, professional decorations, a DJ, everything they'd never given me. My mother's face went white when she saw me in a beautiful dress, surrounded by friends and relatives singing happy birthday. "Grace, what is this?" "It's my birthday party," I said calmly. "The one you forgot again." My father stepped forward, face red with embarrassment. "You can't just throw yourself a party." "Why not? You've never thrown me one." "This is embarrassing," my mother hissed, looking around at the guests, who were clearly enjoying themselves. 24 forgotten birthdays was embarrassing. This is a celebration. I pulled out my phone and showed them the photo timeline I'd created. Every elaborate party they'd thrown for my brother over the years, next to pictures of my forgotten birthdays. Empty dinner tables, grocery store cupcakes, nothing at all. The contrast was damning. Guests around us started noticing the confrontation. Friends came over to congratulate me on finally celebrating myself. Relatives mentioned how they'd noticed the unfair treatment over the years, but had never said anything. The truth was finally surfacing. "I've been saving for 8 months," I told my stunned parents. "I planned everything you never bothered to do. I invited everyone you never thought to include. I created the celebration you never cared enough to give me." My brother appeared at my shoulder, looking genuinely ashamed for the first time in his life. "Grace, I'm sorry. I always knew it wasn't fair, but I liked getting all the attention." At least he was honest. My parents stood awkwardly while I enjoyed the party I'd given myself. Some relatives apologized privately, admitting they'd noticed the unfair treatment but never spoken up. Others shared their own stories of family favoritism. As the night went on, my parents' embarrassment shifted into something else, a dawning realization of what they'd done. The evidence was undeniable, displayed in photos, witnessed by dozens of people. They couldn't gaslight me out of this one. My mother finally approached me, eyes wet. "Grace, I didn't realize." "You didn't want to realize. It was easier to believe I didn't care than to admit you didn't." She had no response. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me from needing their recognition. I'd spent 24 years waiting for love that was never coming. That night, I decided to create my own celebrations instead of waiting for people who had already shown me I wasn't worth remembering. The party continued without them. I danced with friends who'd driven hours to be there. I laughed with coworkers who'd pooled money for a gift. I hugged relatives who finally admitted they'd always known something was wrong. The family who'd forgotten me for 24 years stood on the periphery of the best night of my life. The next morning, I woke to a flood of messages. My mother had sent a long text about wanting to heal and move forward. My father called twice, leaving voicemails about family being complicated. I read them, listened to them, and set them aside. I wasn't ready to forgive. I wasn't sure I ever would. But something had shifted inside me. The little girl who waited by the window for a birthday party that never came was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth wasn't determined by people too selfish to see it. That Saturday night, surrounded by 75 people who chose to celebrate me, I finally found it. Where are you watching from? Drop it below. If you've ever been the forgotten child in your family, you're not alone. Subscribe if you believe in celebrating yourself when no one else will. Your special day matters. Share how you've created your own joy in the comments, because sometimes the best party is the one you throw for yourself.